Welcome to the Vikings Now. I am your host, Patrick Seatman. And before we get into my Vikings Lions preview, my bosses, before I stepped in here and wanted to record my preview for you guys, they said, not a chance Vikings fans can get the 200 likes on today's video. I say we crush that goal. I say we go for 400 likes, prove them wrong. Vikings are one of the smaller channels at Chat Sports. Let's prove them wrong and let's get to 200, 300 likes. But now, what you guys are here for, the Vikings-Lions preview. It's going to be a noon start on Sunday with a couple of 1-1 teams. And honestly, this is a huge game for the Minnesota Vikings. It has a ton of NFC North implications. Right now, the whole NFC North is evened up, 1-1. That's why the Vikings, if they could have won that Monday night game against the Eagles, they could have really had a big start to the NFL season. But like I was saying, this is a big-time game for the Minnesota Vikings. I think if they drop this game to the Detroit Lions, a little bit of panic will set in, considering you are at home and you are a 6-point favorite in this game. This is a game you expect to win. If you drop to the Lions at home, then you got to go to Detroit, and you still have to go to Green Bay. This is almost a must-start 2-0 in the division for the Minnesota Vikings. But now let's get into some of my keys to victory for the Vikings. Number one overall, defense needs to step up, especially after performance against the Philadelphia Eagles where they gave up nearly 495 yards. I mean, that was a pretty, not embarrassing performance in the first half, but they just did not bring it. There was miscommunications, missed assignments all across the board, and this Detroit Lions offense may be legit. You know, young offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is kind of the new hot young offensive coach hire that will be going into next offseason, and he has this Lions offense humming through the first two games of the NFL season. Yards per game at 421, that's third in the NFL. Passing yards, that's only at 19th, but still 220 yards a game. But running the football, which the Vikings have struggled with this year, is defending the run. They are sitting at 186 rushing yards per game. And then points per game, the Lions are sitting at 35.5, which is second in the NFL. Now let's focus on their quarterback for a little bit. Jared Goff, he hasn't been throwing the ball all over the lot like a gunslinger, but he has been pretty damn effective. His completion percentage sitting at 57%. 471 yards on the year, 6 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He's been taking care of the ball, coming off that 4-touchdown performance against the Commanders last weekend. I think the Vikings defense have their hands full. Now, if you're looking at what the Vikings defense has done so far this year, yards per game, 29th, not so good at giving up 433 yards a game. Passing defense has really struggled. Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers, or especially Jalen Hurts, not really so much Rodgers, really killed them. And then that rush defense, that's, again, my biggest concern with the Vikings, giving up 137 rush yards per game. Honestly, the points per game is not as bad as it seems. The Vikings have kind of been an opportunistic defense so far this year, had kind of that bend, don't break mentality, and obviously getting that blocked field goal really helps them. But here's the one guy I want to key in for the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's kind of been this fantasy football sleeper for NFL fans this year, but he's really damn good. And he's had a great start to his 2022 year. 17 receptions, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's going to cause some matchup problems for this Vikings defense. I'm curious to see if they'll put Patrick Peterson or if they'll go Cam Dansel or get back into this Vikings lineup and stick him on him. He's kind of that one guy, the most explosive player on this Lions offense. But now I want to talk about a guy on the Vikings defense. Danielle Hunter. He was quiet last week, and Danielle Hunter's coming off back-to-back years where he barely played. I'm calling this the Danielle Hunter I'm back game. I think he's going to have 2+ sacks. I think that's my prediction for Danielle Hunter. I think this is going to be the game where he reminds everybody just how good he is and just how good of an edge he can be in the NFL. I mean, just look at his frame on the screen right now. This dude's a physical freak. He's a GMO per se. I'm calling this the Danielle Hunter comeback game. But I want to know from you guys, how many sacks do you think Danielle Hunter will have on Sunday? I said 2+. I think Danielle Hunter, whether it's Penei Sewell or whoever he's going against, I think he'll have his way. I think, when the Vikings coming off the embarrassing Monday night loss, I think this is going to be a fired up team, and I think Danielle Hunter is going to be a huge contributor if the Vikings want to get a win this Sunday. Now, my second key to victory, Kirk Cousins. He needs to get back on track. Kirk Monday night, it was just his typical Monday night shambles performance from Kirk Cousins. 27 of 46, 221 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 brutal interceptions. Those interceptions were coming at the Eagles' 9, 19, and 29-yard line. You can't throw 3 interceptions all damn within near the red zone when you're trying to score on offense. That's just 9 points if you settle for field goals on all of them. But this is a noon start. This is an angry Kirk Cousins. And I always kind of joke around when I'm talking to my dad. I always say, you know, when Kirk Cousins is playing in that noon slot on Sunday, he looks like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And we always say angry, pissed off Kirk Cousins, another top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I expect Kirk to get back on track today. I really think him in that noon slot, kind of bouncing back from this Monday night game. I expect big things from Kirk. But now I want to talk to you guys about a proud sportsbook sponsor, BetUS. And you can bet on anything over at BetUS. And if you go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125, you'll be able to get a 125% deposit bonus. So if you use CHAT125 and you're like, hey, I'm going to put $100 in, they're going to give you $125 for free play when you go into the app. So if you say, no, what, screw it. I put my $100 on the Vikings money line last week against the Eagles. They didn't end up coming through. They ended up losing. You can still use that extra $125 in free play that they will give you guys. And you can go bet on the NFC North odds. Right now, the Vikings, last week, they were the favorite at plus 105. Them and the Packers almost kind of flipped spots this week at plus 105 to plus 135. But if you still think the Vikings are going to win the NFC North, you want to put $100 on it at plus 135, not a bad idea. Now, my third key to victory. Match the Lions' energy. And I don't know if this is the Hard Knocks coming out of me and this Hard Knocks bias, but Dan Campbell has a different type of energy in this Lions locker room right now. And this is my favorite quote from Dan Campbell over just the time at Hard Knocks. I think you guys will enjoy this. He said, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no light. There's a song Metallica has, No Leaf Clover. And it says, man, when it comes to the soothing light at the end of your tunnel, it's just a freight train coming your way. This is not your typical Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell has this team playing with tenacity, and he has this sort of grit. You know, if you watch Hard Knocks, that was the word of the show is grit. And I do think this Lions, if the Vikings don't come out and match that Lions energy that they're bringing in, it could be a long day. So I ask you guys this, Madden style. If you had to rate the Lions on Madden, how good do you think they are? Like, what overall do you think they are? Scale it 1 through 100. Honestly, right now, with the way this offense is humming under new offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, I probably got them at an 80 overall. I don't think this is the typical 70 overall that you would normally see from your Detroit Lions. Get down in the comments and let me know. Now, fourth key to victory, stop the run. I mean, you could say this any week. It's kind of a duh key to victory. But for the Vikings, I think it really does make sense. And this Lions team so far, been able to run the crap out of the football. 52 attempts, 372 yards at 7.2 yards per carry. Think about that. Every time they run the football, they're almost getting 7 yards. If you look at DeAndre Swift, he's averaging 10 yards per carry this year. Now, this Vikings D-line, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at Harrison Phillips and Dalvin Tomlinson maybe. They need to have a big game in this game on Sunday. They need to stop the run because I think if you stop the run and you force Jared Goff to be a true pocket passer, he'll be uncomfortable. And I always say, the more uncomfortable quarterback, whether you think Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, whoever you think is better, whoever is the more comfortable quarterback ends up normally winning the game. I think the Vikings defense needs to make Jared Goff uncomfortable. Don't give him the support of a run game coming into Minnesota. I don't know. I really do think the Vikings defense, it's got to start with selling out and stopping the run. I'll ask you guys this. What say you? Do you trust this Vikings defense in this game? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I do trust them. I think shutting out the Eagles in the second half, maybe gaining some momentum going into this week. I think understanding how much of a big-time game this is, do trust this Vikings defense. I do expect them to hold the Lions to at least under 20 in this game today. Now my number 5, show off your weapons. I understand through the first couple weeks this has been the Justin Jefferson show, and I'm totally okay with that. Justin Jefferson's obviously one of the best receivers in the league. But I'm looking at some of these other guys. Adam Thielen, been pretty non-existent this whole year. KJ Osborn, my sleeper. I love KJ Osborn. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league. Really been non-existent. Jalen Reagor, he's that really strong offensive weapon we got from the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Jalen Naylor, he's been that 6th-round rookie, hasn't really gotten a lot of reps. But look at this. The Vikings wide receiving leaders. It's Justin Jefferson, and then there's a huge fall-off. I mean, 232 yards for Jefferson. The next highest is Adam Thielen at 88. Thielen honestly got half of those in garbage time against Philly. I say you go get guys like Rager and KJ more touches. Rager, I don't want, Vikings fans to look at him as a receiver mainly. Obviously, he is a receiver, but look at him as more of an offensive weapon. I loved the little jet sweep pass they gave him on Monday night. Got him around 17 yards. Do more stuff like that. And honestly, KJ Osborn, I'm sorry. If he's going against a third corner, I expect him to get open, and I think he is. And I maybe don't think the Vikings are giving him the ball as much as they should. Get them more touches. Now, a minor Vikings injury update. Honestly, the Vikings are a pretty healthy team right now. We only really saw 2 guys pop up on the injury report from the Vikings practice this week. It was Andrew Booth Jr. and Harrison Smith. I don't expect Harrison Smith to go. He has a concussion. The NFL is obviously they are very, they're hammering down on concussions lately. I don't expect him to be ready to go on Sunday. Obviously, it's a short week. Andrew Booth Jr., it's going to be something we're going to be following on the channel all week. He's dealing with a quad injury. He sat out on the Monday night game against Philly, so we'll have to see. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Best way to help the channel out. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Let's go Vikes.